All right, and good evening, and welcome to Mock Ad Hoc. I'm your host, Johnny B, and I host this show and help fantasy owners get prepared for the preseason, get you ready for your September or August live draft. And so I got Dave and Quinn back on tonight. Dave, how are you doing?
Doing great.
Quinn, what's up, man? How are you?
Fired up. Good to be back here, guys. Another beautiful summer day in SoCal.
All right, I like all the Steeler memorabilia in the back. So tonight's show is going to be the NFL coaches and your fantasy team, and I know there's some ramifications out there, Dave. We're hearing a lot of rumblings, some strange rumblings, especially in the Minnesota Viking camp. What's going on over there? Tell me about Norv Turner.
Yeah, I think you get a lot of coaches moving around, and it's important to realize how coaches impact, in particular in fantasy football, offenses. So Norv Turner is a great West Coast offensive coordinator. Turns out he's a terrible head coach, but that's okay because now he's the offensive coordinator in Minnesota. All that's going to do is help guys like Adrian Peterson. I mean, you go all the way back to Emmitt Smith and all these great running backs that he's had. Norv Turner likes to hand the ball off, and he's not handing it off. He's doing play action. So I think what does Norv Turner's presence mean to the Minnesota Vikings is kind of what I want to address. And I think it's a benefit to Peterson. He's going to see the ball a lot. He's probably going to see more receptions than he's used to. Not always a huge reception guy, so we'll see more of that. And I think Teddy Bridgewater, who we talked about a couple weeks ago, in the last 3 games of last season, he was the #1 quarterback in the NFL in terms of completion percentage at 73%. So he was starting to find his rhythm, and now he's got a coach who's going to feature the high percentage passes. You're going to get a lot of dump-offs to the tight end. You're going to get a lot of swing passes to the backs. You're going to get a lot of slant routes and quick outs, a lot of high-percentage West Coast offense-type plays. Bridgewater's numbers will be better. He's in his second year. It's make or break probably for him as far as development, and they can find out some stuff. Peterson's got a lot of rest. I like Peterson a lot, and I think Kyle Rudolph will be good. On the outside, it'll remain to be seen what Mike Wallace does and whether they can stretch the field and Bridgewater can hit those deep passes and make Wallace relevant. So Norv Turner gives that team a bump, I think.
Yeah, so Quinn, I mean, real quick, we're just going to throw it back to you and then we're going to move on. But as far as Norv Turner, I know a lot of people are excited this year. He definitely is a huge tight end coach. Definitely shows everybody what's going on when we saw him in the Charger camp years ago, and then obviously now he finally gets his chance with AP. But what else do you like about Norv Turner here, Quinn, real quick? Your comments.
I like a lot of things about Norv Turner, particularly when we're talking about him being an OC as opposed to a head coach. He was a horrific head coach, and frankly, most offensive coordinators are bad head coaches because when their team's on defense, they're out there talking to their offensive players. All they care about is offense. There's a few things I really love about Turner. He's been highly successful in several different offenses. He caters to his players on the field instead of turning them into what he wants. And Bridgewater throws a beautiful deep ball. I don't know if you guys have watched the Vikings much. He has a phenomenal arm. He puts a lot of touch. He's got a big arm. And he can throw the ball far enough to get to Mike Wallace. And Norv Turner's going to keep them balanced. He's going to have a good running game. He's going to throw the short, high-percentage passes, as Dave mentioned at the end of last year. And he can also run the ball when he gets in trouble. I think we're going to see a brand-new Vikings team, a couple of years of solidarity with their new coach, and I look for them to get in the upper half fantasy-wise with some of their players. I think Bridgewater will be, in the top. He might be a top 15 quarterback in the high end, and I think Norv Turner is going to solidify that offense and make them a legitimate threat again over there in the NFC.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I know the defense is a huge part for Norv as well because he gets the ball more often. I know the Vikings are going to be at least a top 12, maybe top 14 defense in the league, so that only helps that offense. Let's move over to the Bears and Adam Gase. Dave, tell me what's going on with this guy, right? So probably last 2 years with Denver, he was lucky enough to have Peyton Manning in that offense. He works really well with big wideouts. We know that. So now he's got Alshon Jeffrey. He's got some other folks, obviously Kevin White now in Chicago. But give me a little lowdown on Adam Gase and how interesting is this going to be?
Yeah, so Gase comes over, and I think you've got he comes over with John Fox. So you're going to see that system that those two guys are working together. Fox will focus more on the defense. He gives Gase pretty much control. Maybe we'll find out how much input Peyton Manning had and how much of what Adam Gase was doing in Denver was Peyton Manning. But the ball went to the tight end a lot. Julius Thomas was a stud. You got Martellus Bennett. So I think that's, if not good, great for Bennett, who's probably going to be a top, definitely a tight end one, if not a top 3 or 4 potentially tight end. The only and then you got Alshon Jeffrey, who's now missing Brandon Marshall on the other side. So that'll be a benefit to him. Kevin White will step in, but he's a rookie. Jeffrey's going to be the beast, just like Demaryius Thomas, right? You're drawing those parallels all over the place. Who's going to play the Demaryius Thomas role, the Julius Thomas? Who's gonna run the ball for him? It's going to be Forte. Now Forte had a lot of receptions. We'll get to Mark Trestman later and how he affects other people's offense. But Trestman's gone. Forte had 91 receptions last year, something like that. So look for that to come down. But Forte may run the ball a little more, so there'll be some balance there. But Forte's just touching on 30 years old. Can he run the ball? How good is the Bears' offensive line? There's some questions there, but I still like Forte a lot. I like Alshon Jeffrey as a high-end number 2, a low-end number 1, depending on what you're dealing with. And I hate Jay Cutler.
Yeah, you've mentioned that several times before. I'm going to go a little bit different on this because I'll tell you why I don't like Adam Gase in that division. I think he's going to get roughed up over there. I think the Bears are going to be a dumpster fire. Now, for fantasy, it's going to be a whole different ball game, and I know that's actually a good thing for a fantasy system with him, but I worry about that division. He was in the AFC with the Raiders and the Chiefs and the Chargers, and so now he's in a different ball game over there. I'm curious to see, but I'm hesitant, so I'm going to kind of yield on this one as far as a coaching change. I know the coach has a big to do with how you draft. A lot of guys are looking into that. Quinn, what do you think about that? Do you agree with me or disagree?
I disagree. I think that Gase is going to make them a better team. Nothing that Trestman was doing was helping. Him and Cutler were on the wrong page. I am 100% with Dave. Cutler's an absolute mess if you're trying to win football games. He has one of the best arms I've ever seen, but he's just got a bad attitude. You could see it in his body language. And I think Gase is going to slow things down a little bit. I think he's younger. He will be more apt to mold to this quarterback that he's stuck with, as opposed to Trestman trying to make him run his system. I think the Bears will, even though they have an atrocious defense, I think they'll be a better team, but not necessarily better fantasy. I think they're going to play some closer games this year. I mean, let's look at Cutler last year. He was the worst quarterback in the NFL in the first 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter he'd get 200 yards and 2 touchdowns when his team was down by 30 points. Just an absolute joke. But in the end, the points are the points. But I think they're going to be a better team, and not necessarily better fantasy-wise. I don't think they're going to get as many scrap points. But to Dave's point, I think they'll be more balanced. We're going to see a better running game and hopefully some more short passes. It seems like Cutler was never throwing the ball, unless he was dumping it off to Forte. Everything was 15 or 20 yards down the field, triple, quadruple coverage. They kind of throw the ball anywhere.
Yeah, the only thing I do like about Gase, I pretty much just said I didn't like him, but I'll tell you the only thing I do like about him is the tight end situation. So Martellus Bennett, I think Bennett's the only guy that's going to benefit, as Bennett benefits here, in the red zone looks. And I think you saw Julius Thomas excel at that system when Gase was there. So he's the only guy I like on the Bears, that tight end. I could be totally wrong here. It's still the preseason, but that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
I don't want to get too much on Jay Cutler. He does have nice hair.
All right, we move on.
Hot wife too, Dave.
That's right. He does have a hot wife.
All right, so Dave, let's go back to you on Gary Kubiak. So, right, I mean he's in an interesting scenario, right? So we just talked about the Denver Broncos. Tell me about Gary Kubiak this year.
So a great move for Kubiak. He's got the relationship with Elway. He goes in there and he steps into a situation where he's finally got a quarterback. I mean, he had Arian Foster. Now he's got C.J. Anderson. If C.J. Anderson really grabs that job by the throat and takes off with it, you're really talking about a top 3 or 4 back for sure. I mean, he's got that kind of potential. They are going to pound the rock as long as Peyton Manning doesn't check out of it. Peyton's going to have a lot of input. Kubiak's going to have a quarterback, which he just has not had. All the Matt Schaubs and guys of the past that were just hurt and not there. They had to run the ball. They didn't have a choice. So he's going to have some other options, but he does like the ground and pound. Some of the receiver numbers will hurt. You're going to see them in a 2-wide receiver set more often than a 3-wide receiver set, unlike last year where there was 3 wideouts, single back formation almost all the time. So look for a little bit less, coming from that 3rd wide receiver position. You're going to have Sanders, and then you got a couple guys battling for that spot. But Demaryius Thomas needs to get his contract signed. Sanders will be okay. Should be still good. Don't look for a 3rd and 4th guy in the tight end option, which will be help me with the tight end, the guy that used to be in Owen Daniels.
Yep.
From Houston, so he'll be serviceable. Peyton Manning loves to go to the tight end, so he'll be good. So it's a bump sideways for those guys compared to last year. Manning's numbers probably aren't as big. I think it helps C.J. Anderson more than anybody. Demaryius Thomas is still a beast. You're still taking him as a wide receiver 1.
Quinn, let's go to you really quick because, if you look at my board right here, I don't have C.J. Anderson up here. A lot of people are actually emailing me right now. They're saying, how come you don't have C.J. Anderson on your board? Well, I'll tell you, because I'm worried right now. At this point in the season, it's still early, but I'm worried that Kubiak's going to throw us all a screw curveball here, and he's going to throw in Hillman, and he's got Monty Ball, and we're going to see 3 running backs. If the listeners are out there, do you have to worry about Kubiak in that scenario, or is he just going to run the beast in C.J. Anderson, Quinn?
Kubiak is going to run the hell out of the ball. I absolutely love this hire. He's Norv Turner Jr. He is one of the best offensive minds out there because he sticks to his game plan, and what he does is he runs the ball, which is an ideal situation. Peyton Manning proved last year that he wants to win a Super Bowl more than he wants passing records. He proved that he would check out of situations and run the ball for the betterment of his team, and Denver's going to run the ball probably 40 plus, maybe even up to 50 times a game. Manning does not have the arm strength anymore. They still have a good team. They still have a great defense, home field advantage. It's probably his last chance to win a Super Bowl. But I love Kubiak in this hire, and there's nothing wrong with having 3 great running backs in this situation. I think Anderson did prove that he is the guy. Hillman may be the 3rd and long guy. You may see him come out of the back in certain situations, and Monty Ball may be the goal line guy. So Anderson's not going to be a top 5 back in my pick because he's not going to get 10 touchdowns, I don't think. But you just never know. He's going to get enough touches to make him a number 1 fantasy starter no matter where you get him, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. And last year, like I said, I keep preaching this, but I drafted him because he can actually pick up the blitz, right? And there's so many running backs in the NFL that cannot. And so that's why I'm not high on Ronnie Hillman or Monty Ball, who could never pick up the blitz. But CJ can, and CJ's a horse. But again, that's just my opinion on, I think this year I'm just a little worried at this point, right? It's preseason, so as I evaluate the preseason and watch some footage and some games, I'll kind of come back to that and revisit it. But, the thing is, we already talked about with Kubiak. You mentioned Owen Daniels. I really like how he does throw to the tight end, and he knows Owen very well, so this is going to be interesting to how that shapes up. And, it'll be interesting to see where Peyton Manning goes in drafts and how well they adjust. I know Peyton's going to be calling a lot of his own plays, and Kubiak may want control over that, so you got to kind of monitor that. It's a very interesting coaching change. As they say, there's strange rumblings, right? Well, here's another rumbling going on, Dave, over in Baltimore. We were just talking about the Chicago Bears. Tell me about Tressman now, who, from Chicago. He's a Canadian football former coach. Tell me about Mark Tressman here this year.
Yeah, Tressman, like we talked about with the Bears, he likes to throw it all over the place. He throws it on nearly every down, as you can see from what the Bears did last year, and he's going to do that again. Forte had 91 receptions last year. Look for Justin Forsett. Look for Forsett to really take off on that. He only had 60 catches last year. He should be pushing that way up. So Forsett will be the biggest beneficiary of the way they run the offense. Flacco might actually become a fantasy viable quarterback if Steve Smith isn't just a year older but still a year better like he was last year. He was incredible. So you lose Torrey Smith.
Correct.
Gone.
Yep.
And so you draft Perriman. They'll find some ways to cobble it together, but Justin Forsett is the beneficiary of Tressman showing up there, and they will try to dump it off to the backs, run the ball, dump it off to the backs. That's going to be the thing. Tressman will help him.
So Quinn, are you all in on Trestman here, like Dave for Baltimore? You think this is a huge, great fit?
Absolutely not. I am a little bit biased. I hate the Ravens being a Steeler fan, but I don't like the fit at all. I mean, losing Torrey Smith, Flacco, 6'6", throws that big deep ball to Torrey Smith. I do love Forsett. I think he's going to be a monster with receptions and touchdowns and running the ball, but I really don't like anyone else on that team. Flacco has become a better quarterback when you're trying to win Super Bowls, but not from a fantasy perspective. He does nothing on the road at all. And they're still a team that wants to pound the ball on the ground and play defense. They're very happy winning games 10-7. Outside of Forsett, I don't like anyone on this team offensively, fantasy-wise, other than possibly a kicker. I just don't like anyone. I don't think they're going to put up a lot of points or be a diverse offense. I mean, you look at Chicago last year, and this guy's supposed to be an offensive genius, and they were so predictable. You could tell by the sets they were running what kind of a play they were going to run. And I don't know, maybe he'll prove me wrong, but I don't foresee them being very efficient offensively at all.
So real quick, just give me the quick answer here. What round Justin Forsett, Dave? Real quick. Right now, today.
Third round, running back 2 on the higher side for me. I like him as one of my top running back 2s because I know he's going to get the majority of the carries. I'm not in a timeshare. Anybody who's not in a timeshare is a running back 2. I love him.
Okay, Quinn, greater or less than round 3 right now today?
Less than. I'm going to put him, at maybe the 9th or 10th running back on my list just because there's nobody else there and he's versatile. He's not going to come off the field, and he catches the ball. He's durable, and he can score touchdowns. So I've got him very high on my list.
Nice to hear. Oh, a guy who's 5'7", durable.
Yeah.
You're just bitter that he couldn't do that for the Seahawks.
I'm not 5'7".
All right, let's move to the South here. Let's talk about a guy, Kyle Shanahan, who likes running backs, right? He's a big fan of the run game. He leaves Washington. He leaves RG3 and Alfred Morris, who for a while there was just a runaway freight train. Tell me about Kyle Shanahan. He moves to Atlanta now, Dave. And are we in store for something special in the Atlanta running game this year? How does he work with Matt Ryan over there?
No, nothing special. But the running game will be better and the passing game will be worse. So from a fantasy standpoint, if the two guys are still splitting carries, if you got Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman splitting carries, you've got nobody to play there. If one of those guys seizes control of the running back position, that's going to be a really nice RB2 that you're going to want to be looking at in the late third, fourth round. I think it hurts Julio Jones a little, but he's still a great wide receiver 1. I think Roddy White is pretty much done. The days of Matt Ryan throwing for 4,800 yards and 30 touchdowns are probably over.
Quinn, your thoughts on that?
I agree. I think they may be a better team this year. I think Shanahan's can provide them with a more balanced offense, but they have some decent backs, but he's going to try to run the ball and do ball control. Matt Ryan he throws a beautiful deep ball. He throws the nice outs. He's not really a West Coast offense guy in my opinion. So I don't think it's going to help them fantasy-wise. They do have some talented backs. One of those guys, whether it's Devontae Freeman or Tevin Coleman, someone's going to probably emerge as a really good fantasy back because they do like to run the ball. And he likes to hit the tight ends, too. I don't even know who their tight end is going to be this year. But we could see some guys end up being sleepers that we're not looking to draft. But as far as the big guys, I think they're going to be hurt by this offense. I really do. It's a ball control offense, short game, and I don't think that fits into Matt Ryan's skill set very well.
I actually differ a little bit there. I think Shanahan's going to boost Matt Ryan. I really like what is going to happen over there. I think Shanahan's going to take a hold of Matty Ice and bring him back. The big question I have right now is it Coleman or is it Freeman? Dave, which one? Just spit it out right now. Which runner are you going to go for if you're going for Atlanta?
Devontae Freeman if I'm picking, and I'll probably, if either one of those guys are of value late in the draft, or if they start falling down the board farther than I think, I'll pick both of them, hoping one of them becomes the feature back. So I think you're going to watch that in the preseason. You're going to have a lot better thing. But if I'm picking today, I'm picking Freeman. But I'm watching the preseason very, very closely.
Yeah. I think you have to with Shanahan. I mean, those runners, he's going to pound the rock. And look, they play in a dome. There's all kinds of different scenarios you could look at on why that's a good coaching change there. For me, it's a thumbs up. I like the move for Shanahan, and then we'll see kind of how that all goes in. And you still got Julio Jones that's going to stretch the field. So let's just talk real quick. I have some notes here on just some other coaches. And at this point, all we're going to do is say which one has more to prove and which one would you not really want to draft any players from. So, Quinn, let's start with you. Jeff Fisher of the Rams. This is a question of more to prove, who's got to step up, who has to win now, Jeff Fisher or Lewis out of Cincinnati Bengals, Marvin Lewis.
I've been saying for years that Marv Lewis needs to step up. He has so much talent over there, but the flip side is they're good every year. You know, I kind of look at him like a Marty Schottenheimer. So I'm going to say Fisher because for years I was on the side of Fisher being one of the best coaches in the NFL, but now we've had them. What's he been with the Rams? 3 years? They've been horrible. They're going to be in Los Angeles next year, or the year after, so they may be looking for a new coach. I think Fisher has more to prove. You know, a lot of years of top draft picks. You've got talented people. And, you know, in the end, Lewis hasn't got Cincinnati the next level, but they've got a top-ranked defense. They're in the playoffs almost every year. I think their real problem is they put a lot of money into Opie, who is a solid quarterback, but he's not a top-tier quarterback. They paid him top-tier money, and he's never going to get them into the Super Bowl. But you know, Lewis does a good job, so I would definitely say Fisher would be more on my hot seat than Lewis.
Dave, real quick, I know you're a Seahawks fan. I'm a Niner fan. The Rams, we don't really care too much about here, other than we hate to face their defense this year, probably. But who do you think has more to prove on coaching, Jeff Fisher or Lewis?
Just a quick translation: Opie is the quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals, Andy Dalton. Everybody was translating what Quinn was saying.
He has a really hot wife too, by the way.
It goes with the contract. I think Fisher is in a situation where he's gonna have a little more leniency, right? He's got a brand new quarterback. He's got Todd Gurley, who they took with the first round pick, who's probably not gonna play a lot the first preseason, maybe the first 5-6 weeks. Might go on the PUP for something. So I really think Lewis is on the hot seat. He's got to win a playoff game, right? It's not just about showing up and making the playoffs. You got to do something, and the clock is ticking. AJ Green's due for a contract. They just signed Dalton to a big contract. He's got a running game. He's got a defense. It's time to put it together, and I think the reason Lewis is the one on the hot seat is because he's the one that's going to get the blame. You know, they've given him everything that he needs to do it, and he has to do it. He's got to get somewhere. Get to an AFC Championship game, something.
Now they got to win now. Both of those coaches, they got to win now. And
Fisher doesn't. He's got a bad team.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about the time clock ticking, and there you go. I mean, those guys need to win now. So I think at this point, according to my records here, let me just take a look at the coach here and see what the coach says. Yeah, I think the coach is telling me from the box. Wait, hang on. Oh, okay. Yeah, Red 98, Denver Dragon. Okay, Jordy Nelson. Okay, yeah. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do a little mock ad hoc. So let's take a quick break here as we set up the board. Be right back. All right, Dave, you're on the clock. You got the number 1 pick in the 2015 mock ad hoc draft. Go ahead, Dave.
I know I said I liked Adrian Peterson, and I do like Adrian Peterson. Preseason, I want to see him. If I'm picking today, I'm taking Jamal Charles because he's a safer pick. Jamal Charles.
Quinn, who's your choice? You got the number 2 pick.
I'm going to take Andrew Luck, Jonathan.
Wow, number 2 overall, huh? Andrew Luck.
Yes, sir.
Ready to finish last.
You think he'll toss it 5,000 times?
He will. But Quinn won't have to.
I mean, that's easy. I truly think that that's probably a good possibility here. Now, yeah, that might happen. So hey, if you're watching this show, that might happen as a quarterback taken as a second overall pick. How can you not pick this guy right here? We already talked about him, Adrian Peterson. So I'll take him number 3. Back to you, Dave.
Eddie Lacy.
Wow, why?
Proven commodity. He's going to see the ball. He's definitely a number 1 workhorse. It was either Marshawn Lynch or Eddie Lacy there. I try not to be biased, so I said Eddie Lacy.
Okay, Quinn?
I'm going to go with Des Bryant. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's in a contract year. I think he's going to have a monster year.
Wow.
I like it. Right? So you got to go for tall studs, and he's definitely one of them right out of the gates. I think for my pick here, I think as much as as much as I want to take a guy like Matt Forte, I think you got to take this guy. He might, in my opinion, be above Des Bryant, so I'm going to take Antonio Brown.
You guys are nuts. Coming back, if I'm picking, 6, 7 now?
We're on 7.
Number 7, if I can get Marshawn Lynch at 7, I'm taking Marshawn Lynch at 7.
Perfect. We already know all the reasons as to why there. And Quinn, back to you. What do you think about number 8 overall pick?
I'm going to take Matt Forte, Mr. Consistency.
Is Le'Veon Bell still on the board?
Yes, sir. And that's actually who I'm looking at right now. So we kind of have a run on runners as we look at it. Again, everything's going to depend on if you're out there listening, you're driving in your car. Maybe quarterbacks get more points in your league than ours. Maybe that's 6 and ours is 4. And maybe you're playing in a PPR. But for now, we're just looking at a standard league. This is just all standard, everything straight vanilla. So how about the number 10 overall slot? Dave, who are you thinking?
We thinking a 12-team league here? Playing
12 team, sure.
Okay. So as I look at that, what I'm going to look at is I'm going to say, okay, I'm picking 10th. I got another pick coming up in 4 picks, right? So it's coming back around to me pretty quick. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, it's coming back. So there's not going to be a running back there for me that I want at my second round pick if I'm picking 10. So I think at 10 you still got to go to the back, and it's going to be Arian Foster.
Good pick. I like that one, actually.
There's going to be lots of receivers there when I pick in the second round with that 10th spot.
That's perfect. Quinn, back to you.
LaShawn McCoy, going to running back university over there in Buffalo.
Yeah, they're gonna put it up. I mean, their attempts are just off the chart on runners, so totally buy into that one. I think that's actually a really good pick. How do you not take Demaryius Thomas? You can't leave him hanging around too long. So I think we're all the way down from 1 to 12. I think he could have fallen, in my opinion, a lot earlier, but we had a string of runners. So go ahead, back to you, Dave.
So now we're talking in order, but I'm looking at myself as the first pick right now. I'm picking, or you're picking back-to-back, Demaryius Thomas. If you pick Demaryius Thomas, what do you want to do? Do you want to go for the running back and pair him up, or do you want to go ham and take Calvin Johnson, which is what I'm doing?
Yep.
That is a serious advantage right there at the wide receiver position over everyone in the league.
No doubt, no doubt. Quinn, what would you take as the 14th overall here as we move down the list?
I would need another receiver. I'm going to go with the ever-reliable Jordy Nelson.
Jordy, right there. I'm actually gonna take your boy Gronkowski, Dave. You mentioned him on the last program. I don't know how you let him slide that far with the New England Patriots. Jimmy Garoppolo, my uncle worked him out in the combine last year. Very high on Garoppolo. Bill Belichick loves his intellect, and Jimmy's just a good stand-up guy. Even if he fills in for Brady for those few games, I think that's all he's going to throw to. And the New England offense is impossible to run routes, right, for wide receivers. But guess what? The tight end position on New England, easiest thing to do in this world. So there are not many routes he has to run, and he's very capable.
You took Gronkowski over C.J. Anderson, DeMarco Murray, Odell Beckham Jr., and Aaron Rodgers, right?
This is upside down drafting, Dave. You're darn right. I hate running backs. I don't want to deal with any of them. I'd rather take somebody who catches the ball. And in my opinion, you have a head and shoulders advantage at the tight end position. Anybody I match up can't stand me. And you know what? I'm going to find some key runners later in the draft. I'm going to scroll back the camera up, so we'll do this little recap here. So we went 15 picks here. Jamal Charles over Peterson for the number 1. I think a lot of consensus here. This is July 14th. Would have probably Peterson number 1, Jamal Charles number 2. But I like that. I think Quinn, you went with Andrew Luck number 2. A lot of people would say that's a stretch. Other people would say no, he's right on. Why not just build your team around a quarterback? Adrian went number 3. Lacey went number 4. Dave, would you change the Andrew Luck pick at number 2?
Yes, I would.
Why?
Well, especially looking at the top 15, I'm thinking, wow, looks like I can get Aaron Rodgers in my second round if I wanted to, which I still don't. It's just too high. There's not enough separation there. I think he's going to be great. It's not a wrong pick, but I need a running back at 2. Once you get down to 7 or 8, you can start looking at receivers. But I think there's only 5 or 6 really bell cow backs, and you got to have one of them. Picking at the back end of the first round, then you can start thinking about some other strategies.
Quinn, are you surprised that no one took Odell Beckham Jr.? All this talk about Victor Cruz coming back, I think, has it scared off the 3 of us? Shouldn't Odell Beckham be on this top 15?
He probably should be, but I think we tend to go to the more reliable guys as far as reliable people who've been doing it for 3, 4, 5 years. He most likely will be a top 3, top 5 receiver. But, we just don't know, and so I think we just kind of slid back. There's a lot of unknowns on that team, from coaching to aging Eli Manning to bad offensive line, a lot of different things. But back to my Luck pick, it may be stretching, but is there anybody on that board who's going to score more points than him?
No, and actually, if you really think about it out there, I'm not a huge advocate of going QB that early either, like Dave. But I will say, when you're on the opposite pole here, like you are, you're on the North Pole, it's going to go all the way down to 15, that's the South Pole. But when it does swoop back around to you, you're going to have a nice turn, as they say, right? You're going to have a chance to get a really nice wide out or a really nice runner, number 2 probably, runner number 2 coming back around. So, you do it in any order you want, but no, I'm not going to hate you for that right there. I mean, with the way he's going to look. I think what was interesting to me, Marshawn Lynch falling so low. Dave, this is your chance. He's your boy. This is your team. How come Lynch went so late?
Marshawn Lynch has been the poster boy for I can carry it as many times as you can give it to me. Can he do it again? I don't see why not. The guy stays pretty fresh. He actually does a nice job receiving. He's actually a lot niftier in the hole than you would think he is. He's not just a pound-it type of guy. He's actually incredibly agile within the hole, reversing field, Barry Sanders stuff. He doesn't take as many hits as you might think. He maybe delivers more hits. I think a lot of people are worried about the build-up, but those 3 guys ahead of him are absolute studs. With the Bell suspension, I like Lynch right where he is, and maybe
number 7. I think he went number 7 here, right?
Yeah, you can't argue with Antonio Brown or Des Bryant if you want to go that direction and get a running back coming back. But 5, 6, 7, he's going there somewhere.
So, Quinn, real quick, we're going to kind of wrap this show up as we further the analysis here. But you're a Steeler guy, and your Le'Veon Bell went all the way to number 9. I know he's going to be missing some games, but good Lord, that's pretty deep for a runner like that.
It is, and I think I talked in an earlier show. I think he's right there with Jamal Charles. I think he's the best running back in the NFL because of his versatility. But those 3 games hurt. I mean, if you only have 1 first-round pick. If you're drafting in the top 5, it's really hard to say, hey, I'm gonna spend my one and only great pick on someone who's going to miss 20% of the season.
Right.
So you're going to see it drop down a little bit. I mean, if you're wasting that pick and you go get a receiver and then go get a quarterback, then you're not getting a running back till the 4th round, and then who's going to be your second back for those 3 weeks? A 7th or 8th rounder? So I think you have to tread a little bit carefully. as far as that, because there's no way around it.
Yeah.
We guess about a lot of things, what will happen with this coach or this, but we know he's going to miss 3 games. That's a given.
Yeah, and let's go back to, obviously he's going to miss some games, but right now what's interesting, in kind of mid-July here, people have him really high on mock drafts, and it doesn't mean anything now, but this is the fun, right, as you start to prepare. Here's the million-dollar question I have for you, Dave, and I'll answer it first, but I'm curious to know Eddie Lacy or Le'Veon Bell, right, with what we know and what we saw last year. In my opinion, I would actually rather have Le'Veon Bell, but Dave, am I wrong? Would you rather have Eddie over him?
I would. It's just about a little more conservative approach. It's a little safer pick. If you feel like you're super expert drafter guy and you're going to get it done, maybe you look at the end of the season and you look to the playoffs and you think Le'Veon Bell is more explosive and is going to help you more down the line, and you're not worried about the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks of him being out. So if you feel like you can weather the storm and you feel like he's got more potential, go for it. I think Eddie Lacy's just a safer pick to pile up more points for the season and win those first couple games for sure. No number one back for the first 3 weeks. Give me tough.
Right. And as we kind of get to the end of this show, look at me. I'm already growing a beard here. It's time is getting a little away from us here on Mock Ad Hoc, but we've sure enjoyed having you guys on. We always love all the comments on Twitter. So thank you very much. One more quick question, and then I think we're going to go ahead and say goodbye. Let's Quinn, just take me through that Buffalo Bill pick. Why do you like that so much? Give me Buffalo Bills.
I said it in our last show. Buffalo it doesn't matter who the coach is, who the quarterback is. They just run the ball, and they run the ball effectively. They always have mobile linemen that can get downfield and block. McCoy's got a chip on his shoulder. He's angry at Philadelphia. He's angry at their coaches. He's angry at everyone, and he runs well when he's angry. He's versatile. He's going to catch the ball. He's going to run the ball. I really like that pick. I think LaShawn McCoy a couple years ago was the best back in the NFL, and I think he's going to come right back to that situation again. He's still young. He's shifty. He doesn't take a lot of big hits. He's healthy. And so I expect him to be right up there with Jamal Charles and Adrian Peterson, Le'Veon Bell as the best backs in the NFL.
I'll give you just one thing on McCoy. Here's why he's in Buffalo. Yards per carry from his leading the NFL 2 years ago. We're down 1 full yard per carry last season. That's why he's in Buffalo. He's going to have to run angry to be a top value pick.
Yeah, I like it too. I was a little shocked at the Calvin Johnson pick going that late, number 13, as I look at it. I think, maybe Gronkowski was the worst pick of this draft as I look all the way down. I really like the Jordy Nelson pick. I think that shows a lot of value, but this was a lot of fun to take a look at the top 15 picks real quick when we have a little bit more time. Did my sunglasses just go on Corey? That wasn't magic, people. That was pretty funny. But hey, as we do this more, what I'm going to do is actually set up my big draft board, the one I'm actually going to show you on the next podcast how to build. Get that in your backyard. You got to try it. You got to check this thing out, what we've been dealing with in my big boy league and everything. But this has been fun. Thanks for joining us. I think on the next shows you're going to see a lot more mock drafts. You're going to see a lot more analysis like this. And for Quinn and Dave, I'm Johnny B. Thanks for joining us on Mock Ad Hoc, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. All right, take care.
Cheers, gentlemen. Have a good one.